let's get back to this stud, because stud we are not. This thing is awesome. It hasn't ran today at all. I started it a couple of times yesterday, but it ran for just a couple of minutes at most. So check this out. This particular engine has a couple of features on it that I find really cool. Stick around for the entire video and I'll show you what it is that I like about this particular mower so much. First off though, we're going to talk a little bit about the repairs that I did on this. Okay, you probably undoubtedly noticed that stud is standing a bit high. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Had to do several things on this mower. Had to clean out the carburetor, and well, let me try to move the camera up so you can see this here. So engines don't really like to run very well with water in them. So that is the fuel that was out of the tank of this mower. So undoubtedly contaminated with water. So I had to take care of that. Let's go ahead and get back down here. I didn't mean to get so crazy with the camera there. So let's get back to this stud, because stud we are not. So what had happened was, and I brought some things for visuals here. I've got an 18650 here, and I've got a drill bit. So when they drilled the hole from the factory into this motor, it was really off center. Okay, like really off center. It was right at the edge of the lug that they drilled the hole in. Okay, so that's problem number one, and probably the biggest problem out of all of them. So I don't know what had happened, but at some point the mower was maintenanced and the original bolt was broken off into the lug. Okay, so that left us with maybe about a ½ an inch to work with. Okay, that's it. ½ an inch at the very edge of the lug, if you will, that contain the threads for the stud. So let me show you a little bit of something about taps. There are three kinds of taps. You have a taper tap, you have a plug tap, and you have a bottoming tap. What's the difference in between? Well, it's going to be how long your chamfer is. That chamfer is the taper that you see on the tap here. Okay? How do you tell the difference between them? Okay, a taper tap will have 9 threads of chamfer. Okay, a plug tap will have 5 threads of chamfer, and what they call a bottoming tap will have 1.5 threads of chamfer. Now, to use a bottoming tap, you really need to run a plug tap and a taper tap and a plug tap before you run the bottoming tap. However, I do not have a bottoming tap. This is the only tap of this size that I have. This is what they call a plug tap because it only has 5 threads of chamfer. However, when you're talking about a ½ inch or so of depth and you're using a plug tap and even worse, a chamfer tap, you're barely getting down far enough for your helicoil. Hang on, I should have had one of these pulled out. set the helicoil down for just a second. Let me set it upside down so it might hold a little better on the, well, that didn't help much either. So you got about a ½ inch or so to work with. And you see where your chamfer is. It's up 5 threads. That gives you barely enough room to put in that helicoil. So the helicoil, I would not honestly call it a successful repair on this mower. It is in there. It is holding that stud. This stud is not loose. It's not moving. Okay, so it's holding. But I was not really pleased with the results. I was going to make a video of installing this helicoil to show you guys. And I started making the video, but it wasn't going well. So I thought, I am not going to use a poor excuse of a helicoil job to show you how to helicoil. I'm not going to do it. I will find something. I know I've got stuff laying around. I will find something that I can drill into, tap it, run a helicoil in it, and show you how it's done. I want to show you how it's done and how it looks properly and how it works properly and all of that. And if I can't do that, well, I don't want to show you how to do it wrong, so to speak, right? But I didn't have a whole lot to deal with. I was pretty much left with that, so that's what I did. Now, if this comes loose, it's not down and out. I do have another method that I will attempt to do, and I'm pretty certain I'll be successful. What I'll do is take a stud, and I will take my little fake Dremel tool. It's just a rotary tool, not a Dremel brand. And I will take and I will cut a notch into the stud, like maybe about that far out. And then what I will do is I will drill a hole off center on that lug. And then I will take what they call a roll pin, which is made out of spring metal, and it's a round piece of metal that's coiled round, and it's made out of spring metal. And the intent of it is for you to be able to tap it in with a hammer, and it will compress the spring metal a little bit, and it holds it tight in there. So that's what I'll use. Again, I'll cut a notch in the stud, I'll drill a hole off center, and I'll hammer a roll pin in there to hold it into place. That'll keep it from pulling up and keep it from turning. So that will fix it for sure. And if you're wondering why I didn't go that route this time, because that can be a fun task to do. And when you're working with such little material, you have to be pretty precise with what you're doing. And I want to take the least amount of chances that I can when doing a repair. And in this instance, the least amount of chance was a helicoil. And then, you know, that doesn't work, well then we'll go to the other method. But it's just something that'll take some time. We'll have to get some roll pins and stuff like that. I would rather not use this soft metal stud that's here for that. I would rather go to something hardened and get a piece of stud that has a shoulder on it. You know, a shoulder being, you know, an area that doesn't have any threads. Right, but it can't have a super long shoulder, and yet it has to have threads long enough. So it's going to be a particular bolt that I'm going to be looking for, is what I'm saying. So we'll have to get that. We'll have to get a roll pin, and then we'll go from there. So could I do it with this stud? Yeah, I could. The results, though, I would not be as confident about the results. I'd rather use a hardened bolt if I was going to do that. The studs back here are hardened. They're hardened bolt. They're studs, but they're hardened. This is not. This is just a piece of threaded rod. So this was used by the customers. This was the customer's father's repair that he had done, and he did a good job. He did what he could do. You know, it's just. Coming out of the factory like that, that really should not have made it out of the factory, to be honest. It's not the lawnmower manufacturer, It's the engine manufacturer. It's Kohler, and they typically make good engines. So kind of is what it is. But so that's what's going on with that. And as you've seen, the water, I got, I flushed everything out, got all the water and condensation out of it and everything. It's got fresh fuel in it and all that, and you heard it runs like a top. So what is it about this mower that I like so much? Well, this mower has, we haven't seen a manual choke on a mower in a long time. But this mower has no primer bulb, no manual choke lever, but yet it's got to have a choke, right? Well, this is pretty nifty. And this is actually the first lawnmower I've worked on that has this system. So I learn every day. I love it. I learn every day. So there's a component that sits right here above the muffler, okay? And it's got a bimetal coil in it, okay? So imagine it being like an old mechanical thermometer, not the mercury-filled ones, but the mechanical ones with the coil. Pretty much the same thing. And that's connected to a rod, okay? So as that motor heats up, it twists that rod. That rod runs over to this side to the carburetor, and it's connected via linkage to the choke butterfly on the carburetor, okay? But wait, that's not all. There's more. So that's how the choke operates thermostatically, okay? So with it being cold, that metal's not heated up, and with the linkage and the rod, it's holding the choke butterfly shut. When it starts up, the heat from the muffler heats that bimetal up, rotating that rod, actuating the linkage, therefore opening the butterfly. However, being that type of system, it might operate a little slow, right? Because you got to heat up the bimetal, and you have to turn that, all that, right? So you need, in order for everything to go smoothly, you need one more layer, okay? And so on the carburetor over here, there is a diaphragm component. That has a tube, a vacuum tube, that runs around underneath the carburetor over to this side of the carburetor. Now that's going to be, there's a vacuum from the engine running that gets pulled through that hose, okay? What that does is that pulls back the diaphragm, which is also hooked up to the same choke linkage. And so what that does is when you initially start the engine, the choke is closed because of your bimetal coil in this component over here. You start it up, any delay in that might cause the engine to start running rich and smoke and all of that. So that's what this component's for. The moment that this engine fires up and it's running, that vacuum starts pulling on that diaphragm, which also opens the choke. So this opens the choke a little faster so that it doesn't start smoking and choking up and all of that stuff, running rich, okay? So it utilizes two different components for an automatic choke system. And I think that is a pretty incredible design. So, and it works fantastic. I'm going to be honest, I'm one of those people that I'm not necessarily a fan of new things. And I'm one of those that like the old ways. And, you took my manual choke away, and then you take my primer bulb away. So, but it works incredibly well. So, I got to give it that. It works incredibly well. And I'll tell you what, this might be my favorite little push mower yet. Non-self-propel, just not necessarily super expensive mower, but not an economy Walmart $99 special either. You know what I mean? You're probably talking around $250 and $325 if I were to guess what these sold for new. So anyway, kind of a cool little design. Of course, it's a newer style engine, overhead valve and all of that. It's Kohler. So it's Kohler. I don't know the brand of the dog over there though. I have no idea. It's a generic, I can tell you that. That is a very generic dog, right? So, very generic. It's coming over here to cause trouble next. So, anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you about this, tell you about the repair I did. She's still awaiting her new air filter. So, I will probably blow this out the very, very best I can and clean it up the very, very best I can, because it's going to be a little bit, I think maybe another week or so before she gets, before she's supposed to get the air filters. So I'll blow this out and try to clean it up as best I can. Put this in there until she gets her new air filters. So they're easy enough to change. She can either change it out herself or bring it back by. I'll just throw it in real quick. It's not a big deal. But anyway, I've got the black Mower to work on today. Fun. I had gotten this one back. I got it running once. This was the first one that I had running for him. And so I had gotten it back. And I intended to get it back anyway because there was a couple of things that really, really needed done. Oh, which reminds me, I wanted to show you something. I freed up, I probably need to bring my phone too because I kind of can't see what's on the screen without it. So I did what I could to free up her cable. Hang on here. Let's see. This cable here, the engine stop cable. Okay. You'll notice there's a kink there. Be careful, folks, when you fold your handles over, because they can get caught right here. And when they get caught right there, it'll do two things. It'll kink it and it can stretch it, the cable. So it can completely ruin a cable. So this one, I think it'll suffice. It needed lubrication really, really bad. So I lubricated it up the best I could. I kind of tried to straighten the kink out the best I could. And, you know, it's not perfect. It's kind of crotchety. Kind of hard to do it with one hand. You can hear it. It's kind of crotchety, but it does it, you know. It's not too bad. Not a lot of pull on it. So anyway, I was telling you about that. I'm replacing the cable on this one, the engine stop cable, because it's stretched and it barely, well, this end keeps popping out and it's in real kind of bad shape there. So, and it keeps popping out. And so I'm going to put a much better one on it. So anyway, going to do that. And then when I initially worked on this mower, I was just getting it running for him because he had some lawns he was going to be cutting the next day. So I was just trying to get him one of the mowers going. I needed to put a helicoil in that other one. So I went to this one. So he needed the fuel line was trash on it. And I didn't have any, you know, just good fuel line, any length of it, not a single length as long as it's needed. So anyway, I just put on what I did have around so he could get it mowing with it, and then told him I wanted it back, which I got it back because it quit running. I suspect, I'm going to check, I suspect I'm going to find water in the fuel. So I'm just saying. So I'm going to drain the fuel out, check it for water, and then go from there. I'm going to replace the fuel line, obviously, replace the engine stop cable, and then I'll probably be pulling the carb off to run through it real quick, clean it all out, make sure there's no moisture in it and stuff like that. So, yep. I'll tell you what, I get absolute joy out of working on small engines. I really, really do. Love every minute of it. So anyway, that's what I got going on. I've got plenty of other repairs inside as well, so I hope to get really, really busy. That'd be really nice. So, going to be making a video. Keep an eye out for folks into preparedness. So, Pinball Preparedness made a comment that I should make a video about communications. And I'm going to do that very thing. So keep an eye out for that. I got to get some backlog work through, get some of this stuff out the door, and then I will get busy on a video for you on that. So I am going to get out of here, get this mower fixed up, and I shall see you later. Shalom.